today's agenda, we're going to talk about the heat transfer units, and we'll also include chillers in this. So some of the areas that we'll cover are tube sheets, end covers, channel heads, reboilers, plate heat exchangers, and cooling towers. Throughout the presentation, you'll hear us refer to paste grade materials. So what this means and how we use that is for pit filling, and you'll see some examples of gasket rebuilding. You'll also hear us talk about composite repairs. What we do with this is where you have hole through repairs, thin wall repairs, and we can also make these ASME certified if that's something you're looking for. So with our quality coatings comes with quality testing. Behind every one of our products, these are the pre-qualification testings that they all go through, such as heat resistance, adhesion, immersion, chemical resistance, steam out resilience. If you'd like more information, we can send you the chemical resistance charts for whichever product might work in your process. So we're going to go through our coating process. First, on every piece of equipment that we do inspections on them. So we have 5 NACE inspectors at our location, Belzona, including 1 NACE 3 inspector. So for the channel heads, we desalt, blast, degrease before we begin application. Then we're going to see some examples of rebuild and stripe coating. Here is after blast to an SP10. And here's the rebuilding on the welds. So what we did here is we reinforced each of the welds with our paste grade and a composite. That way the welds have integrity again, as the asset owner was concerned about this. After the rebuild, we apply the first coat. And this is a second coat with our high temperature coating. Here's an example from a local turnaround that we helped out with. We got 28 sets of channel heads with end covers. We averaged sending back about 3 to 4 sets a day, and we added a protective liner for erosion corrosion in the future. So with your turnarounds, what we request is you give us your timeline and we'll work to meet that deadline. Here are the channel heads and end covers in our shop. Picture on the left is the first coat, the end covers, and the second coat. Another area we can help out with would be aiming reboiler shells like you see here. This is the insider of a reboiler at a natural gas plant. The equipment was suffering from severe pitting and wall thinning due to exposure to H2S and MEA at 302 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can see the next picture over shows the vessel being abrasive blasted for preparation for the coating. And we did this on site with their local contractor. And then in the third picture down on the right, several areas where we rebuilded that were needed to treat with rebuilding due to shallow pits. And then the final picture on the left for internal lining. So before any of the coating processes, we like to discuss with you what specific chemicals you have going through and temperatures so that we can select the proper coatings and send you our chemical specification sheets as well. One of our common applications are tube sheets. This here on this chiller, we can also do it on heat exchangers. The problem areas we run into are chemical attack by corrosive solutions, bimetallic corrosion, and cathodic protection failure. This video is going to go over a brief overview of how we go about the application. So as you saw in the video, we can apply the linings ourselves with our application team, or we can train your crew to do this process. We offer classes here locally in Alvin to train your on-site personnel, or we can go out to your facility and train them there as well. Here's an example of some new chillers that can be lined before service. All we need to know for before service is what temperatures and chemicals you plan on running through once it goes into service. Another example of a tube sheet bundle for a heat exchanger that was lined before going into service. As we saw in the video, one thing you might have noticed is we apply our paste grade to the tube sheet. And the reason we do this, you avoid the corrosion buildup between the tubes. And this prevents leaks in the future and will also fix any leaks that you might have previously had. Some other areas, heat exchangers and also chillers that we can help you with are metal rebuild. And the reason this is necessary is you see pit fillings, gasket rebuilding, and baffle rebuilding. Now, a great example of needing rebuilt. This channel head we received at our house, in-house, obviously was experiencing extreme corrosion. After blasting, it was worse than originally anticipated. It looks like Swiss cheese. So what we did was we reinforced the divider plate with a paste grade and remolded it back to the original integrity. And then we applied 2 coats of our protective corrosion protection. So the asset owner wasn't able to get another piece of equipment for 6 months, but we were able to return this in 24 hours. Here's an example of rebuilding a gasket surface. This saves you from having to do any machining. All of this is done by molding. Another example on a channel head where we, after blasting, we did pit filling on the internals. Then we remolded the gasket surface, again with no machining necessary. Then we applied 2 coats of a ceramic epoxy Novolac liner. Some other areas you may not think of Belzona for your channel heads. On the exterior of this picture here, we were able to apply an ASME certified wrap called our super wrap to restore integrity on the exterior. We can also do like repairs on the shells of your heat exchangers, and we can do fiber epoxy composite repairs as well. Here's an example on an oil cooler. You can see the crack was pretty significant, and the asset owner wasn't able to weld this or do any other application due to the oil being too dangerous to weld right with it built up. They needed this back. They weren't able to get another piece of equipment for weeks. We were able to return it back with Belzona paste grade composite wrap around it in 24 hours. This was also another emergency repair. They had a through wall defect on an end cover, as you can see here, and then on the shell as well on the picture on the right. So what we recommended was an ASME carbon fiber composite that we did on the internal of this cover. And then we did a composite patch on this one, and that which we went over with the ASME certified repair as well. So as promised, we stayed to our 15 minutes to get you back to work, but I'd like to answer any questions now that you might have had and make sure we have your emails to send your continuing education credit.